been trying to work out a contract extension with their star quarterback, but so far Lamar hasn't engaged in negotiations, which has led some to believe that he's unhappy in Baltimore, and Lamar tweeted about it. Said, "I love my Ravens. I don't know who the hell putting that false narrative out, but I'm having thoughts about leaving. Stop trying to read my mind." Yesterday on This Just In, our very own Mike Tannenbaum discussed the impact Lamar Jackson's next contract will have on the entire NFL.
Everybody is watching Lamar Jackson's contract, and here's why. If his contract looks like Deshaun Watson, the NFL landscape for quarterback contracts changes forever. It is the single most important negotiation in the history of the CBA. And if it goes back to, quote, normal, and it looks more like Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers, everyone's going to say Cleveland was just an outlier. But if that contract looks like Deshaun Watson, write these names down. Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, they're all going to say, we want the Deshaun Watson structure. So Lamar Jackson is at the plate. He's next. And it's hugely consequential what happens with his contract.
Diana, I want to start with you. Diana Rossini and Jeff Saturday with me. And look, I get it. Deshaun Watson's different because they were trying to lure him, a quarterback of that level in the middle of his prime. They guaranteed a lot of money. But Lamar Jackson, what are you hearing about the effect that his contract can have on the rest of the league?
Yeah, first, Mike is really insightful about the market, and there's definitely a lot of talk. I was just at the owners' meeting this last week, and there's conversations being had about where is this going to end? Where, because we're seeing this guaranteed money. I have a hard time believing Lamar Jackson's going to get a deal that looks like Deshaun Watson, right? So here he is right now, sitting back and waiting. And waiting may be the right thing for him at this point right now, because worst case scenario, he gets tagged. There's nothing wrong with the tag. Kirk Cousins, since 2016, when he was hit with that tag that first year, he's the richest player in the NFL. He's made the most money than any other player in football by taking on the tag. And then you hear the other side of it, right, Max? Well, quarterbacks are worried about the injury. You're taking that risk. And Lamar Jackson's certainly a player that people have concerns about getting injured. Dak Prescott broke his leg, and he was still able to get $75 million guaranteed. So the tag, it ain't so bad if you're willing to do that and stay patient. And from what I can tell right now, Lamar Jackson and his mom are quite the superstar duo here as they're sitting and just waiting to see what the best option is going to be for the Baltimore Ravens. As they're ready to come to the table, they're just waiting for their quarterback.
Yeah, Jeff, I think everyone has a lot of advice for Lamar Jackson, right? But he's doing it his way, and so far has probably made at least an extra $50 million. Maybe we should stop giving him advice. Right? Jeff, on the other hand, I hear what Diane is saying. But if there's $150 million plus guaranteed sitting there, can he get back on the field before he puts his name on the dotted line?
Absolutely not. And listen, I ain't doing anything less than Deshaun Watson. I don't care how much the Browns wanted him. The Baltimore Ravens better want me like that. And so when I walk in there, I'm asking for the same numbers or somewhere close, fully guaranteed. And Diana asked, where's it going to end? Hey, it's going to end where them owners in. That cash money. They're making a bunch of money. These quarterbacks will make a bunch of money, all guaranteed. There's no reason to go backwards. You just saw the market get set. Go make it happen. And here's the difference, though, I will say this, and what Diana's talking about with the franchise tag and Dak Prescott is Dak Prescott doesn't depend on his legs nearly as much as Lamar Jackson does. If a catastrophic injury happened to Lamar Jackson, I think it diminishes his value significantly in comparison to a guy like Dak Prescott, right? You think about the way that the Cowboys think they're built. Offensive line is strong, protect him, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And Baltimore, that's not the way it is. This guy's got to win with his legs and his arm, so that multiplicity that you're asking of him, he gets injured, it is a huge setback. So if I'm him, I'm more worried about Lamar than he is. I'm like, I ain't going to OTAs without getting that thing done, Max. So no way. I'm getting my deal done.
I'd be afraid to cross the street before I sign that.
I know. Yeah, and that's the risk he's taking. But Jeff, you know what I thought was so interesting? The phrases, the wording that their head coach was using, even their owner. This is Lamar's team. This is the offense we're going to run. This is Lamar Jackson's way. So if they're going to do it that way, they got to figure out a way to protect him. And he takes hits, Jeff, but he doesn't take crucial hits at this point right now. That could, of course, change. But this is going to be the risk that Baltimore is going to take. And this is probably why I don't believe Lamar is going to get all that money that we saw Deshaun Watson get, because the Ravens know that this is risky, knowing how much he does use his lower body.
Legs age worse than some other part. Like, legs can go first. Diana,
yes.
There are still some big-name free agents out there. Let's run through some of them, starting with Gilmore.
Yeah, Stephon Gilmore, right? So we saw last year he didn't play until he was traded from the New England Patriots to the Carolina Panthers, so it's kind of hard to get a sense of where he's at. But he had a great 2020 season. So here he is, still on the market. There's been some rumors. The Chiefs had some interest down in West Palm, Florida. There was some chatter that they may look into that. The Eagles, I heard, were perhaps considering that. But at this point right now, he's still a really good player in a team that is searching for a top corner with tons of experience, obviously a Super Bowl champ there. He would be a good pickup for him. Meanwhile, speaking of a good pickup, I am shocked Tyrann Mathieu is still on the street. The Kansas City Chiefs, they go with Justin Reed. They said, we're good, kind of wash their hands of it. We're ready to move on here. I still think Mathieu has the chance to get a really good contract, depending on how this kind of washes out after the draft. He's the type of player I could see signing after we see this draft and see where teams are able to hit or perhaps miss in that position. And then Bobby Wagner, he got such a good jump on free agency with the Seattle Seahawks releasing him. And the 11-time Pro Bowler still doesn't have a home, but I was told he was looking for this 1-year, $11 million deal. The Super Bowl champ LA Rams, the Baltimore Ravens, both teams showing interest, but that price, $11 million.
He's still good.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not great anymore. He's still good.
It's not the same guy. It's still a little steep though, so we'll see where he lands.
Take him for 11 if I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. Coming up, Caesars released the NFL win totals for next season. How many wins do they see? Question. Color me cynical, right? But I'm a big Bruce Arians fan, by the way. I never believed Tom Brady was retired. It seemed to me that the excuses he gave were feeble. I thought he would come back. He did. It seemed to me maybe he didn't get to where he was going. He wanted to leave. He couldn't get there, whatever. Why did he all of a sudden now Bruce Arians is gone, and he's in the front office, and Todd Bowles is the coach. How did this happen, and are those things connected?
You are cynical. That's your first reaction to hearing that great soundbite of Bruce Arians, basically saying to everybody, I don't care about going to the Hall of Fame. I want to live my life. I want to basically enjoy it. He's going to turn 70 in October. And look, maybe there is some more to this, but from what I can gather, talking to people in Tampa Bay, talking to Bruce, talking to Tampa Bay new head coach Todd Bowles, the way it was laid out to me is when Tom Brady announced his retirement, Bruce had already started to think about retirement himself. But once the quarterback announced it, he realized he couldn't do that to the organization. They couldn't lose their quarterback. They couldn't lose their head coach all in the same year. He wanted to put them in a better position. So Brady comes back. Maybe now's the time. So to me, from what I can gather based on these conversations, it was a clean cut, and there's nothing more to it.
Okay, I don't want to marginalize or diminish in any way the fact that Todd Bowles, black head coach in the NFL now in a league that does not have many African-American head coaches, and not like an interim coach like we sometimes see or a guy set up to fail, but a guy in a good situation. Good for Bruce Arians, who has a diverse staff. Good for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So like my cynicism, I get it. I don't want to be cynical about that. But that doesn't sound right to me, Diana. He didn't want to retire because Tom Brady retired, and really?
Listen to how important that was to him. And look, I've covered the Bucks for years, and I talked to a lot of players down there, and they always said to me, B.A. is definitely the man in charge, but Todd Bowles has a lot of juice. Essentially, he was almost like the head coach down there to begin with, and it was just time. Bruce Arians even said in his press conference, I didn't really do that much. Of course, that's not the whole truth. He did a lot. Bowles even telling me this morning, no one understands how much Bruce did on a day-to-day. But when it came down to it, the players, the locker room, and a lot that went into their success came down to Todd Bowles' decision.
How much was Brady involved in this decision quickly? Because I got a question.
From what I was told, it had nothing to do with it. This was all Bruce.
Okay. Jeff Saturday, am I alone on an island here? What's your reaction to the news?
You're on an island, Max. You out there with you and your friends, but all by yourself. Now, listen, man. I played for BA in Indy. This man, he is a man of conviction, and what he said is true, man. I mean, listen, he would do things on his own timeline. This setup for what he wanted most, and that was a succession plan for one of his guys to take over this football team in a position to win and be successful. And if you've looked at him throughout his entire career, from whether it was rooming with the first black player in Virginia with Virginia Tech with Rondé Barber and Tiki Barber's dad, James Barber, when it was having 3 black coordinators, offense, defense, and special teams. The way that he is today, involving women in his organization, hire them as coaches, all the things he's done from inclusion and diversity has been spectacular. On the field, he has been a pioneer as well, man. That go mentality. It was always like 7-step, let that thing rip, get that thing down to the middle of the field, let's make big plays. It's all about big splash, and he was successful in that. He's done a number of things throughout his NFL career, and I love the fact that he said, I don't care about the Hall of Fame, bro. This is what I care about. I care about my man Todd Bowles getting a head job. He deserves it. We're going to be successful here. You know he's still going to be involved in some sort of way, whether it be with the offense. He's going to put his 2 cents in, but it's time for Byron Leftwich to take it over, and nobody assessed the success to Bruce Arians, because Leftwich and Brady have been doing a ton of work together. They've been setting the game plan in. And again, is Arians always involved? Yes, but I think for both these guys, for Bowles and Leftwich, this is a very positive thing, and Bruce Arians is doing it in a perfect way. And you could tell by the way he was getting emotional in that conversation, this is, again, his conviction. He's doing it his way. This is not Tom Brady saying, I don't want him to be my head coach at all. So to put that spin on it, I think is a disservice to BA and what he is, not only